Hi everyone, it's Emily and welcome back to my channel. We are now halfway through February, so I thought it would be a good time to do a bit of a Sims Readathon update. So it's been a bit of a struggle actually. I started off well, read the first 3 volumes of Heartstopper by Oseman. The only reason I didn't read volume 4 is that I didn't have it at the time. My partner has bought it today, so that's exciting. I used one of these for the university prompt, which was to read a book with a school setting because the characters are at school and spend lots of time at school, on a school trip in one of the volumes, that sort of thing. I do find it really cute, but it's probably a bit too cute for me to actually really love. I probably would have loved it more about 10 years ago. I used to read sort of fan fiction with the same sort of tone and fluff levels, but now I think I need a little bit more in my stories. I also have the issue, I think I read comics and graphic novels the same way I read poetry, which is I read them like they're a novel and I just go and I read the words really quickly because that's how I read novels, but I don't really absorb the rest of the art form. That is a me problem, but it does affect my reading experience. So I gave the volume 1 4 stars and then the other 2 I gave 3 stars. So it'll be interesting to see where volume 4 lies on that when I pick that up later. I then started It's a Kind of Magic by Spargo-Ryan, which was my audiobook, and I had chosen that for the Open for Business prompt, which is to read a book where the main character has a job you either have or want. The thing about that audiobook was that I got it from the library on CDs and I have like ripped it and put it on my phone, and so I can listen to that at my leisure. And in the meantime, a hold I had on the library app has come in. So instead of listening to Spargo-Ryan's memoir, I am listening to The Killing Code by Ellie Marney, which is a sapphic thriller set in a code-breaking facility in Virginia, I want to say, during the Second World War. But you know what? I'm going to keep that as my Open for Business prompt because who wouldn't want to be a cryptographer? That sounds cool. So that's staying as it is. I'm actually finding it much easier to listen to audiobooks than I am to actually sit down and focus on physical books right now, which is interesting. So I've been listening to it on the bus to work and home each day, and I've got about 5 hours left and still a week left on the load. So wish me luck. That should work out pretty well. While I started listening to the audiobooks, I also decided to pick up Tussaud by Belinda Lyons-Lee, which was my Bon Voyage prompt, and I've got to page 80, but I was just finding it really hard to get into. It's sort of, the whole thing on the back is about how Madame Tussaud and her colleague get hired by this really mysterious English recluse to build an automaton for him, and the first few chapters are about that, and then it just goes back 10 years, or not 10 years. It goes back in time and starts getting the build-up of how Madame Tussaud and this other guy started working together and how she's ended up in England, which is all very well, but it started with the action and then just went back to something that was a bit more boring. So it hasn't been holding my interest. So instead of reading that, I have picked up Warm Bodies by Marion, which I picked up at the Lifeline Book Fair the other week, strictly because I felt it would probably be maybe a good quick read that would get me out of a potential reading slump, which was the way I felt I was heading. And it's a really interesting zombie book. I will admit I don't really go in for zombie fiction unless there is like a hook. So with World War Z, which I really enjoyed, the hook was the format that it's written as an oral history. And the audiobook for World War Z was really good because they had a different actor for every single interviewee. And that sort of thing. This one, of course, the hook is that it's Romeo and Juliet, but with a zombie. Or at least that's what I thought was the only hook, because that's from memory what the movie did. But this is also really interesting because the zombies have their own society as well. They live in this abandoned airport and they sort of have rituals and ceremonies that they've built up over time, and there's this difference between the fleshies and the bonies, and the fleshies are literally the ones that still have flesh on them, and the bonies are basically walking skeletons. But the bonies are like the elders, and they have sort of, they've built a church out of like aeroplane staircases. They've just put them in a circle, and the Bonies sort of have these like prayer services things where they sort of wave and moan and stuff. So the zombie society is really interesting. Whereas I feel like the movie was just zombie virus is cured with the power of love. And I think that is the way this is going as well, but it's deeper, which I was quite surprised about and I'm enjoying. So I'm halfway through this and I'm hoping I will finish it in the next few days. After that, I don't know what I'm going to read next, so I may end up in exactly the same place as I was before I started this. Will I read something else that was on my TBR? Will I pick something else entirely new? Who can say? I have an Agatha Christie book out from the library at the moment. I may just read that and retroactively fit it to a prompt, if it fits. We'll see. That is all I have for an update. I hope you're all doing well, and I will see you in the next video at the end of the month. Bye!